जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकचार्यष्टोदरक से श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस लभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत गोस्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की, इस्कॉन संस्थापक आचार्य श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकचार्यष्टोदरक से श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की, नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड श्री गिरि गोवर्धन की, ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की, पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की, गंगा माई जमुना माई की, भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की, कलियुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की, श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसलेट बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की, जय इस्कॉन न्यू द्वारका धाम की, टाइगोर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। रीडिंग फ्रॉम श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो 3 चैप्टर 6 टेक्स्ट 31। बाहुभ्य अवर्तत क्षत्रम क्षत्रियः तत् अनुव्रतः यः जातु त्रायते वर्णान् पौरुषः कंटक क्षतात्। बाहुभ्यो वर्तत क्षत्रम् क्षत्रियस्तद् अनुव्रतः यो जातस्त्रायते वर्णान् पौरुषकण्टकक्षतात्। बाहुभ्यो वर्तत क्षत्रम् क्षत्रियस्तद् अनुव्रतः यो जातस्त्रायते वर्णान् पौरुषकण्टकक्षतात्। बाहुभ्यो अवर्तत क्षत्रम् क्षत्रियस्तद् अनुव्रतः यो जातस्त्रायते वर्णान् पौरुषकण्टकक्षतात्। Ladies, Bahubhyah, from the arms, Avartata, generated, Kshatram, the power of protection, Kshatriyah, in relation to the power of protection, Tat, that, Anuvrataha, followers, Yaha, one who, Jataha, so becomes, Trayate, delivers, Varnan, the other occupations, Paurusha, representative of the Supreme, of the Personality of Godhead, Kantaka, of disturbing elements, like thieves and debauchees, Kshatat, from the mischief. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Thereafter, the power of protection was generated from the arms of the gigantic Virat form. In relation to such power, the kshatriyas also came into existence by following the kshatriya principle of protecting society from the disturbance of thieves and miscreants. Purport. As the Brahmanas are recognized by their particular qualification of inclination towards the transcendental knowledge of Vedic wisdom, so also the Kshatriyas are recognized by the power to protect society from the disturbing elements of thieves and miscreants. The word Anuvrata is significant. A person who follows the Kshatriya principles by protecting society from thieves and miscreants is called a Kshatriya, not the one who is simply born a Kshatriya. The conception of the caste system is always based on quality, not on the qualification of birth. Birth is an extraneous consideration. It is not the main feature of the orders and divisions. In Bhagavad Gita 18:41-44, the qualifications of the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras are specifically mentioned, and it is understood that all such qualifications are needed before one can be designated as belonging to a particular group. Lord Vishnu is always mentioned as the Purusha in all Vedic scriptures. Sometimes the living entities are also mentioned as Purusha, although they are essentially Purusha Shakti, Parashakti or Paraprakriti, the superior energy of the Purusha. Illusioned by the external potency of the Purusha, the Lord, the living entities falsely think of themselves as Purusha, although they actually have no qualification. The Lord has the power to protect. Of the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwar, the first has the power to create, the second has the power to protect, and the third has the power to destroy. The word Purusha is significant in this verse because the Kshatriyas are expected to represent the Purusha Lord in giving protection to the Prajas, or all those who are born in the land and water. Protection is therefore meant for both man and the animals. In modern society, the Prajas are not protected from the hands of thieves and miscreants. The modern democratic state, which has no kshatriyas, is a government of the Vaishyas and Shudras, and not of Brahmanas and kshatriyas as formerly. Maharaj Yudhishthir and his grandson Maharaj Parikshit were typical kshatriya kings, for they gave protection to all men and animals. When the personification of Kali attempted to kill a cow, Maharaj Parikshit at once prepared himself to kill the miscreant. The personification of Kali was banished from his kingdom. That is a sign of Purusha, or the representative of Lord Vishnu. According to Vedic civilization, a qualified Kshatriya monarch is given the respect of the Lord because he represents the Lord by giving protection to the prajas. Modern elected presidents cannot even give protection from theft cases, and therefore one has to take protection from an insurance company. The problems of modern human society are due to the lack of qualified Brahmanas and Kshatriyas and the over-influence of the Vaishyas and Shudras by so-called general franchise. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much, Sovas Prabhu, for inviting me to speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam this morning. The principle of protection is common to all the four classes of society. The Brahman protects people in society from ignorance. The Kshatriya protects people from injustice. The Vaishyas protect us from insufficiency, and the Shudras protect us from indolence. So in one sense, all the four classes are protecting. But still, the Kshatriyas specifically are supposed to protect from any kind of injustice or attacks. And in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna very specifically mentions that the whole idea of protection is that even if the Brahmana has to give knowledge, then he needs some protection and an ecosystem in which knowledge can be delivered. So therefore, in the 4th chapter of Gita, Transcendental Knowledge, Srila Prabhupada mentions Imam Rajarishyo Vidu in this purport that the message of the Gita is meant for the Kshatriya kings so that they get transformed and they are able to provide this protection. So in general, the Vedic scriptures speak about various types of protection. And the idea of a Vaishnava leader is that a Vaishnava leader provides protection from these 5. The first is protection from ignorance. As Krishna says in Gita, Tesham evanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayami. Krishna uses the word, I destroy. That's like a Kshatriya word, destroy. Nashayami, Atma Bhavasto, from within, Jnana Deepena Bhasvata. So, one of the crucial and the primary responsibilities of leaders in Vaishnava society is to give protection from ignorance. Srila Prabhupada spent several hours translating the Srimad Bhagavatam in the middle of the night. And he spent consistent hours translating and giving purports because he knew that the most important protection which ISKCON needs is protection from all kinds of philosophical misconceptions. And therefore, if he had spent less time at night and spent more time traveling and involving himself in projects in the day, maybe it would have been, instead of 108 temples, there would have been 200 temples probably. But Srila Prabhupada knew that unless the foundation of the institution is established on the basis of knowledge, as per our parampara, then people will get misguided in due course of time. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada was very, very specific that he wanted to spend quality time giving the translations and giving the commentaries to these beautiful words from our scripture. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this story, there is this verse which says, Yan asthaya naro raja na pramadyet karhichit dhavan nimilyavanetre na patet na skhalet iha. That this path of bhakti is so clear, crystal clear. Na pramadyet karhichit, one will not be bewildered on this path. Dhavan nimilya, one can run on this path. Na patet, he will not fall. Na skhalet, he will not slip. So the question is asked, what are the two eyes which are being referred to? Eyes closed. So the two eyes refers to the Shruti and the Smriti. Even if one does not have detailed knowledge about the Shruti and the Smriti, if they have a perfect understanding of the conclusion of the scriptures, then that is the essence. So Srila Prabhupada worked on giving us the conclusion. And so the Gita is the conclusion of the Upanishads and the essence of the Mahabharata. So Srila Prabhupada gave us the Bhagavad Gita. And then the Bhagavad Puran, Sarva Vedanta Saram hi Srimad Bhagavatam Ishishe. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of the Vedanta Sutra. So because of this, we have the great luxury. And what is that luxury? That luxury is to have clarity. Clarity in the vision. Because all theistic conceptions speak about 5 things only. First, as Eco Village is part of a tourism consortium, so I attend many conferences on tourism. So sometimes when people ask, what is this spirituality all about? I say, this is also tourism. Another type of tourism. Tourism works on planning how to take the body from point A to point B. Spirituality talks about how to transport the soul from point A to point B. So it is also tourism. So it speaks about 5 things. Whether Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, this, that, so many conflicts, fights and disagreements are happening all over the world. The world is becoming more and more polarized. But that is because of lack of understanding that in the essence, all traditions, all philosophies, when it comes to spiritual tradition, can be summarized in these 5. First, where am I right now? Second, what is my destination? Third, what is going to be my experience on reaching the destination? Fourth, what is the path I want to take to reach the destination? And fifth, what are the obstacles I am going to experience in the journey? So if you take these 5 points on the left hand side, and as you keep checking and filling in each of these 5, as you change one of these elements, the name of the philosophy will change. That's it. And even within the tradition, say even within Christianity, even within Islam, Shia, Sunni, or even within Hinduism, Dvaita, Advaita, this, that, so many types, even within New Age, all have to come within these 5. And therefore, because Srila Prabhupada has given us these commentaries in the English language, Srila Prabhupada has given us the Bhagavatam and more than 80 books. So it becomes extremely clear, and it is not so easy to bewilder somebody who has understood this essence, right? Otherwise, there are lots of people who have interest in spirituality, but they do not even have a clear-cut framework of how to approach this, how to approach these 5 elements. They don't even know that this is what spirituality is all about. It is part of a journey. Because I say that if you're interested in making more money, then go to a business coach. If you're interested to remain sane while making money, go to a life coach. But you should only come to a spiritual place if you are interested in planning for life beyond death. If you are not planning for something beyond death, then there are other people who also can deliver many things during your life. And therefore, this spiritual tradition which Srila Prabhupada has given us through his books is such a great benediction. He has protected us from any kind of onslaughts which may happen on our faith with respect to different philosophies and new age thoughts and this and that and everything. There was one boy who was actually born in a Gaudiya family in Bengal, in Kolkata. So his grandmother was an initiated Gaudiya Math devotee, and he would see his grandmother doing all the, Gaudiya pujas all through his life. But he always thought, this is something sentimental and, everybody in India does that. What's the big deal? So then he went to, another country. And when he went as a student, he found that many people in his campus, they're all speaking about Buddhism. And the specific kind of Buddhism which was very prominent in their campus was Korean Buddhism. So, he just was caught in such a social circle that he also kind of was pushed into a corner and had to show that he's interested in Korean Buddhism. So he started reading some books. Then he came across a book distributor on the campus. She was a lady with tilak and everything. And when he met her, he looked at her and said, what are you distributing? She said, Bhagavad Gita. And then he looked at her and said, which country are you from? Because she looked from Southeast Asia. And she said, I'm from Korea. And she looked at him and said, you look to be from India. He said, yes. So she said, what kind of practice are you following? He said, I follow Korean Buddhism. And he turned to her and said, what do you follow? And she said, I follow Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And he got bewildered. He said, that's what my grandmother was doing all the time. And then he became intrigued because he saw a Korean following Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So then he started, studying the Gita. He became connected. He became initiated. So, Prabhupada, the way he has given the purports, it is very, very crystal clear that any kind of deviations which we may detect, or any other kinds of philosophies which appear exciting, we can immediately place it in the right way and analyze dispassionately. So, this is what is known as protecting from ignorance. Second is, the Lord personally also protects devotees from mistakes. And Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna conscious leadership means to protect the devotees the way Krishna protects, acting on behalf of Krishna. And therefore the Raja Rishis, Imam Raja Rishayo Viduhu, they are called Raja Rishis because they are providing the principles of protection on behalf of Krishna. So therefore, Krishna protects his devotees even when they commit mistakes. The example is that when Bali Maharaj, he offered the 3 steps of land, and then at that time, Lord Vamanadev, he captured him and tied him up. So in the end, Lord Krishna, Brahmaji becomes very offended and he says to Lord, you say in your, scriptures, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. If someone offers leaf and water, you accept. This, Bali has offered the whole universe and you are punishing him. This is not fair. So Brahmaji becomes like advocate on behalf of Bali Maharaj. And Bali Maharaj says, Pumsam shlagyatamam manye dandam arhattam arpitam yamna mata prita bhrata suhridascha dishantihi. Says, my dear Lord, no one ever in history has punished his dependents the way you have. You are not only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are the Supreme Personality of punishment. But when you punish your devotee, it is purifying. So Lord Vamandev looks at Shukracharya and says, hey, you are an expert Brahman. And you chanted all the mantras perfectly during the yajna, but still your disciple was trapped. What happened? What went wrong? So Shukracharya immediately folds his hands and he says, Mantratas tantratas chidram desha kalara vastuta sarvam karoti nischidram anusankirtanam tava. My dear Lord, in front of you, who am I to express my expertise? You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even if while performing the yajna there is some mistake performed by the practitioner, anusankirtanam tava, all that mistakes are covered if one chants the holy names and takes your shelter. Because you are Bhaktavatsal and you reciprocate with the devotees. So therefore, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in South India, he met one Brahman who was reading the Gita upside down. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very intrigued and he said, how come you are able to appreciate the Gita and tears are flowing from your eyes? Although it looks like you cannot study Sanskrit. So this Brahmana says, Vipra kahe murkha ami shabdarth na jani shuddha shuddha Gita padi gurur agya mani. Actually, I do not know Sanskrit at all. I am murkha. I am actually foolish. I don't know the meanings also. But Shuddha Ashuddha Gita padi, but I am following the discipline of studying the Gita diligently, Gurur Agya Mani, because it is the instruction of my Guru. So Srila Prabhupada says, here is an example of the effect and the power of sincerely following the instructions of the Supreme Lord and His devotees, that simply by sincere submission and following the discipline, even the Supreme Lord becomes attracted and he takes notice. And so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at this point said to him that you have actually understood the Gita perfectly because you have understood the essence, and that is what is most important. So when Srila Prabhupada started the movement, so many devotees who got connected to him in the initial days, Prabhupada said, your best qualification is you are willing to do what I am instructing. And that is the most important qualification. And Prabhupada said, let us have a traveling Sankirtan bus. And one devotee went and got an old dilapidated bus donated by a hippie. It did not have any paint, it did not have glass on the side, it did not have glass in front also. And there was only one seat. And they were excited and they called Prabhupada to sit inside. Prabhupada said, where will I sit? And one devotee got a chair from inside the temple. And Prabhupada said, if the bus moves, the chair will move. So Brahmanand Prabhu sat there, holding it, and said, it will not move. It is safe to sit. So Prabhupada sat down, and this devotee sat, and he switched on the ignition of the bus. As soon as he switched on the ignition, smoke started coming out from the dashboard. Prabhupada's eyes widened. He looked at that smoke and said, looks like an Indian bus. And the devotees thought that Prabhupada is pleased and is giving a compliment. 4 years later, when they went to India, they realized the purport of that comment. So, Srila Prabhupada, he had these 5 qualities because of which he was successful as a leader. Prabhupada was humble. Prabhupada was enthusiastic. Prabhupada appreciated all devotees. But Prabhupada recognized excellence. And Srila Prabhupada gave creative freedom. And therefore, it is very important that yes, we allow devotees to grow. They may make mistakes, but we have to be tolerant and do the needful to protect them when they perform those mistakes. Since this is the period of Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra going on in Puri, So there is a story of one panda whose name was Talicha Mahapatra. He put the deities to rest at night, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, in Jagannath Puri. And then they had to take the garland, so he took the garland and placed it on himself and was walking away. Suddenly, he heard from the guards that the king is coming. The king got delayed in taking darshan, so he is coming. So Talicha started thinking, as soon as the king comes, he will ask for the garland. And if he doesn't get the garland, he'll become annoyed. But I've already taken the garland off Jagannath and placed on me. What should I do? So he got confused. So sometimes even sincere devotees go through some period of confusion and make the wrong choices. He took out the garland and placed it back on Jagannath. And then when the king came in, he took darshan. And then after darshan, the king said, I want the garland. Talicha kind of was feeling, yes, I predicted this. So he picked up that garland and placed it on the king, not revealing what was the real story. The king smelled the garland, and as he was smelling, he saw a strand of hair in that garland. So the king became annoyed and angry. He said, hey, how can there be a hair from Jagannath's garland? Jagannath doesn't have hair. Looks like you were wearing this. So his bluff was caught. So Talicha wanted to now cover up. He said, oh king, you don't know? Nowadays Jagannath has long hair. The king said, what? Are you kidding? He said, no, yes, you don't know. The king said, tomorrow morning I'll come and have darshan, and if the hair is not there, I'll cut off your head. So Talicha Mahapatra went home, took a glass of poison, placed it at the bedside, and started praying to Jagannath. My dear Lord, I am your devotee for so many decades. I am sincerely serving you. I made one mistake. And for that mistake, you have to protect me. If you don't protect me, my poison is here. So Lord Jagannath could not sleep at night. So Lord Jagannath appeared in the dream and told him, just to protect you because you made a stupid mistake, I will manifest hair. So you relax and get up in the morning and don't drink the poison. So he got up in the morning and, after taking a bath, he rushes in the temple and opens the deity's door and sees inside Jagannath has long flowing hair touching the ground. Talicha is in ecstasy. And he comes and closes the door back and he's waiting for the king. The king comes. And as soon as the king comes, he says, okay, where is Jagannath's hair? Talicha opens the door and says, you have the doubt, you go and see. So the king goes in and he sees this long flowing hair. The king becomes even more angry. He says, you guys, you are so naughty. You have placed this hair with a glue. I am going to punish all of you. And the king goes and pulls the hair, thinking that it is just a wig which is placed by, these pandas. As soon as he pulls the hair, blood starts oozing. The king falls on the ground and prays to the Lord, please forgive me. I made this big aparadh. And he comes out in a shocked state. And a few moments after that, Talicha comes in, thanks the Lord, closes the door again, and the hair disappears. So, Lord is always desiring that the devotees progress in their consciousness. And if they make some inadvertent mistakes, the Lord is always eager to help and protect. So therefore, the second is to protect from mistakes. Third is to protect from impurities or anarthas. Because all of us are still struggling in the practice of Krishna consciousness. So we will have anarthas. And these anarthas will torment us. And therefore, if you see the example of Ajamil, he had all the training of a Brahman, but he was suddenly trapped in one moment of inattention. And at that moment, it was a weak moment for him. And then he succumbed. And so, when the Vishnudutas protect him and give him a second chance, Ajamil, he is offering prayers of regret. And he says, Kvachaham kitaba papa brahmagna nirapatrapa Kvacha narayana tyeti bhagavan nama mangalam. My dear Lord, you are so merciful that although I am not worth associating with, generally equals associate. If someone is very wealthy, they may not associate with those who are very poverty stricken. Lord is supremely pure. Why would he agree to associate with someone who is extremely impure? Ajamil says, no, you are so magnanimous. You put no preconditions to descend on the tongue of even the most impure. And in the form of the holy name, you give your association and transform and purify the heart. Kvacha Narayanatyeti Bhagavan Nam Mangalam. And this way, your holy name is the most auspicious, and you have actually purified me by your touch. So the third is how the Lord protects us from impurities, as in the case of Ajamil. I was sharing the other day, I was asking a college student, who's your favorite character in the scripture? And I thought he'll say the Pandavas or Dhruva or Prahlad or something. He said Ajamil. I said, amongst all the characters, you like Ajamil the most. Why? He said, Ajamil, he enjoyed fully and still went back to Godhead. I also aspire for this double benefit. I said, Baba, Ajamil was a rare case study. If you follow in his footsteps, right, Yamadutas may not come here, you will go to the Yamadutas. So, Ajamil's case study is to describe the power of the holy name, and the last verse of the Ajamil pastime describes the four important effects of chanting. Mriyamano, Harer Nam, Grinaputropacharitam, Ajamilopi Agadhama Kimpuna Shraddhya Grinan. He says, he compares Ajamil with a practicing devotee. Mriyamano, Ajamil chanted desperately, intensely only at the time of death. So if a practicing devotee chants all through his life, how much more benefit they'll get. Grinana Putropacharitam. Second, Ajamil called out to his son, not to the Lord. If the practicing devotee calls out to the Lord directly, how much more benefit. Third, Ajamilopi Agadama. Ajamil was not following the principles till the last moment. If the devotee sincerely tries to follow, how much more benefit they'll get. And Kim Punashraddhaya Granan. Fourth, Ajamil had never heard about the glories of the holy name. If a practicing devotee, understanding the glories of the holy name, chants, how much more benefit. So therefore, the Ajamil pastime is presented as part of Kaimutika Nyaya of how much more we will actually benefit. Fourth protection is to protect from calamity. Different calamities may happen, and just like in the pastime of Ambarish Maharaj, he never imagined that after practicing Ekadashi so sincerely, suddenly there will be an attack. And at that time he takes helpless shelter of the Lord. And so the Sudarshan Chakra, when he runs behind Durvasa Muni, it is said, Prag Dishtam Bhritya Rakshayam Purushena Mahatmana Dadaha Krityam Tam Chakram Kruddhahim Iva Pavaka. The verse says that Prag Dishtam Bhritya Rakshayam, even before Durvasa Muni unleashed that demon, Lord had already made arrangements for protecting his devotees. All the devotee has to do is continuously remember the Lord. Lord will take care of protecting him when the calamity comes. And therefore, Durvasa Muni thought that he is unleashing a major attack, but he didn't realize that his attack on a devotee like Ambarish is like a hissing, deadly cobra entering into a forest fire. A devotee's spiritual potency is like forest fire. And in front of the forest fire, even hundreds of hissing cobras, they are rendered futile. And therefore, Lord protects, our Ambarish Maharaj, because he is such a pure devotee. And therefore, devotees are not concerned with increasing their material piety or becoming purified of sin. They are simply concerned with remembering the Lord. I remember we went for a yatra to Vrindavan many years ago, and Gauranga Prabhu, who takes Dham Parikrama, he was with us, and we were taking a Yamuna dip. And as we were taking Yamuna bath, suddenly he made an announcement. So how many of you can say what is the difference between Ganga Snan and Yamuna Snan? Bathing in Ganga and bathing in Yamuna. So we were, clueless. What is the difference? He said that when you take Ganga Snan, bath in Ganga, all your sins are destroyed. And when you take bath in Yamuna, all your sins and piety is destroyed. When some of us heard that, we came out. We were very new and we said, oh, we have accumulated piety with great difficulty. What is this? But Kaliya's wives, when they are praying to Krishna, they say, Kasyano bhavoschana deva vidmahe tavangri renu sparashadi vikara. Our husband, he was so envious, still he got the abhishek of the dust of your lotus feet. How is that? Because he had some spiritual piety, not of his own, but because he was related to the Patnis, the Naga Patnis. And then the fifth is protecting from enemies. And this is something which, is the natural function of the kshatriyas, which they are supposed to do. And so the Lord repeatedly takes these kind of roles to somehow protect. And how the Pandavas were faced by the enemies, and Krishna repeatedly manifested to protect the Pandavas. So there is a temple, there is a deity in Bhadrachalam, in what was previously Andhra Pradesh, and there was a deity of Lord Ram deep in the forest. So one local forest lady was taking great care of these deities of Ram. So there was one tax collector. His name was Ramdas. He suddenly chanced to see this beautiful deity, and he saw this lady taking care of this. And she was taking care with simple fruits, flowers and everything. So the lady looked at the tax collector and said, hey, you are such a powerful, influential person. I was always wanting my deities to get some royal worship. So why don't you build a beautiful temple for him? So the tax collector, Ramdas, was also devotee of Ram. So he thought it's not a bad idea. So instead of using his own money for building the temple, he used part of the tax which he was supposed to give to the governor and used that money to build the temple. When the governor found out, he became angry, upset, said, hey, you took away the tax money and built a temple. He put him in jail. So when Ramdas was in jail, he started praying to the Lord, chastising Lord Ram. I built a beautiful temple for you. Did Dasharath Maharaj give you the money? Who gave the money? I gave the money. There is a beautiful diamond belt around your waist. Did you get it in dowry? I got it for you. And there is a nice bracelet. Who gave it to you? Did the citizens give? No, I gave. And for all that, this is what you're doing, putting me inside? What kind of reciprocation is this? So in the middle of the night, that governor who put this tax collector in jail, Ramdas in jail, that governor got a dream. And in that dream, Ram and Lakshman came with 2 bags. And they said, we have come to pay back whatever amount was taken from the tax to build the temple. Please release this Ramdas. So the governor got up with a start. He thought he's hallucinating. And he saw these 2 bags of gold actually there and the exact amount which was supposed to be repaid. He came back, rushed early in the morning, and he freed Ramdas. And while freeing Ramdas, he told this story that I did not realize your greatness. Ram and Lakshman personally came and paid back. And Ramdas again started chastising the Lord. My dear Lord, I am the one doing the bhakti. And he is getting your darshan. What is going on? This person is not even your devotee. and you are appearing to him and giving darshan. This is unfair. So, this temple is still very famous, and it is in Bhadrachalam, in South India. So the Lord is always, protecting his devotees in all circumstances, and that is what kshatriya is supposed to do, to protect. But as I said, kshatriya may protect us from injustice, but a brahmana also protects us from ignorance, vaishya from insufficiency, and shudra from indolence and laziness. So all members of society have the duty of protection, but the more prominent duty of the kshatriyas is to provide overall protection and to make sure that the ambience, the ecosystem, the facility for each of these ashrams to perform their duties is intact. And that's the idea of kshatriyas and how they have been created by the Supreme Lord. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any comments, anybody, or reflections, as Vaisheshika Maharaj would say? Raj.
So thank you very much for a wonderful class. It inspired me.